Hi everyone, I hope you're all well. It's been a while since I've told you a story. So I have a story that I want to tell you today, but before I do that I'll just take you through a few things that have happened to me since we've last talked. So since we've last talked, you can see I've had my hair done. It's not pink anymore. If you wanted to see what it looked like when it was pink, I'll leave the video down below. I have still been learning Chinese. I'm coming up to almost a year of learning Chinese and I'm so proud of myself. It's not that I do much every day, but still, the fact that I'm still keeping up that habit is amazing to me because I'm so bad at keeping up habits. And I almost moved to England last year, just very briefly. It was something I considered for about a month, because my dream job was asking if I wanted to kind of interview for it. I interviewed for it, I didn't get it, so I didn't move to England. But that was a fun experience, and it was nice to kind of invest some time and some energy into myself and my own development and things. Anyways, those are not the stories I want to tell you today, but I hope you enjoyed hearing those little headlines of what I've been up to. The story I want to tell you today is about the time I went back to my school and surprised my teacher. Now, before you turn off this video because you're thinking, you've already done this video, no I haven't. This is when I went back again to my high school and surprised a different teacher. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do this video today, but last night I had a dream where I went back to school again, to the music department again, to surprise a teacher again. So I really feel like my brain was telling me it had an obvious preference as to which video to make today. So today's video, if you've seen my previous videos about my teachers, firstly, thank you. That's so awesome of you. And secondly, this video is about Sandra. Now, for those of you who don't know already, Sandra was another music teacher at my high school. DJ was the one that I surprised last time, and she helped to organise the big surprise for everyone. And this time it was Sandra that was leaving the school, and it was my friend who also works as a music teacher who helped to organise the surprise. So this was a couple weeks ago, and I'm still kind of in shock that this all happened. Like, I've been back to my school twice within a year. Isn't that crazy? Like, I haven't been there for like 10 years and they get me back twice. It's so weird, but I don't see myself going back again anytime soon. I feel like almost all my favourite teachers have left or have gone elsewhere, or if they're planning to leave, they don't want to see me. But anyway, Sandra, she is somebody that I first knew outside of school. Like, we didn't know each other well. I feel like we just knew each other's faces. But the first time that I met Sandra is when I was in a show, and Sandra was also in that show, and this show is the one where someone ran into my face on the stage. So if you want to hear a 10 out of 10 quality awkward moment, feel free to go and look that up as well. I feel like I'm telling you to look at so many story times today, but honestly, there's certain stories that are just worth telling, and if you want to hear that one, go and check that out. But yes, someone ran into my face during a show, and me and Sandra were both in that show. When Sandra came to my school, I was a little bit nervous at first, because firstly I didn't know her that well, and secondly because I knew her from musical theatre. And musical theatre was something that I didn't really advertise to anybody that I was doing. I just kind of like to keep it on the down low that I was doing musical theatre, because I wasn't really sure how the people around me would react to that. My friends knew, and sometimes they came along to shows and they were pretty supportive. They mostly just didn't care. But I feel like there were other people who maybe would have been like, that's weird, what are you doing that for? And would have kind of treated me differently because of it. So when I was in high school, the fact that I'd done musical theatre was kind of a big secret. Like, there were people who knew, but we mostly didn't really talk about it. And when Sandra joined the school, I wasn't sure if she was going to respect the whole don't talk about it thing, or whether she was going to be going around and being like to people, yes, I do musical theatre, and hey, so does Kate. But luckily she was really cool about it. On the first day, I think she realised that I was kind of awkward when she brought it up. So then she didn't really bring it up again. I'm just trying to think of other things I could tell you about Sandra before we get into this video to really kind of tell you a bit more about her personality. Because when I did my video about DJ, you already knew a lot about him as a teacher from my previous video. And I feel like I haven't spoken about Sandra so much, but I love her to bits. She is amazing. Sandra, on the first day of school, had a bit of an embarrassing thing happen in the car park. Basically, when she parked her car, she got so nervous about like a whole first day thing that she forgot to put the handbrake on. And so the car rolled away and hit somebody else's car. And by the time it was time for my class, everyone was a little bit nervous. We didn't really know what to think of this new teacher. And she came in and she was like, oh my, I've had such an interesting day already. And it was only like 10 o'clock or something, but she started telling us about how disastrous her day had been already. And it got us all kind of laughing, and we all warmed up to her right away. And she was going around the class and saying, tell me something about yourself. And someone would maybe say, I like skiing. And she's like, skiing? I have a great story about that. Remind me to tell you a story about skiing. And then she'd go to like the next person, and we just ended up having like a class where we just chatted a lot. We chatted about so many things, and it was brilliant. And Sandra also set up the samba band in my school. And the best thing about this was she insisted on as many people in my class as possible being a part of this samba band. And the result that that had was that we ended up being a samba band made up of people who didn't usually speak to each other. Like, there was people, like my friends that I already knew quite well in the samba band, but there was also other people who were maybe a little bit cooler, who hung out with different people, and it gave us a chance to get to know each other a lot better. So I really enjoyed being a part of that samba band, and we went on class trips and things, and it was so much fun. So I honestly loved that samba band. I loved that samba band, and I wasn't in it for long, but I have great memories of the samba band. Anyways, I've said samba band way too many times. Let's get into the main story now. I was invited to Sandra's surprise in the same way that I was invited to DJ's surprise, which was by my friend who's a teacher at the school getting in touch with me and telling me all of the details. And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing anything that night. I'll come along. That'll be great. So Sandra's surprise was going to be a ceilidh in the gymnasium, and basically her husband and her family were going to come along, and they were just kind of find a reason for her to be there. So she was going to walk in and we were all going to be like, surprise! And for those of you who don't know what a ceilidh is, it's like a Scottish traditional dance, and the nearest thing that I can think to compare it to is line dancing, as weird as that is. There's probably a better way to describe what a ceilidh is, but basically when certain Scottish songs come on, they're very, very well known. All the Scottish people get up, and anyone who's known about ceilidhs before, and we know what moves to do to this dance. And eventually the dance repeats itself, kind of in the same way as a line dance. So, you know, you'll maybe go to the left 4 times and then to the right, and then twirl each other, swap partners, and everything starts again. That's kind of what a ceilidh is. I'm describing it so badly, but yeah, it's like a kind of big traditional Scottish dance that's sometimes done at weddings. So I'm so sorry if you've never heard of ceilidhs before. That was a terrible way to describe it. If anybody can think of a better way to describe ceilidhs, put it down below in the description and the comments, because I'm hopeless at these things. I'm not the most confident person in the world, and I do find it quite intimidating walking into a room where I don't necessarily know anybody. Which I know sounds crazy, because walking into the gymnasium, I did know people, but I wasn't sure that they knew me or they cared who I was. So a lot of the people that I recognised when I walked into the building were teachers, and I mean, my teachers have taught so many people, especially since I've left, so I can't really expect them to want to speak to me or even remember who I am. So when I walked in, I was like, this is kind of awkward. I don't know who to go and sit with. And then I saw somebody that I was speaking to quite a bit at DJ's surprise. So I went and spoke with her for a while. I was like, I'm so glad you're here. I don't really recognize anybody. And she was so nice, and she was introducing me to everybody that she knew at the table. And then my friend Lucy walked in, and Lucy is somebody that I knew quite well at school. We chatted all the time. And so to see her there, I was like, this is amazing. Thank you so much for coming. And I think she was quite grateful to see me there as well, because she was kind of feeling the same way. She didn't really know who else was going to be there. And it was just nice to see people that we recognised and knew that we could speak to. I don't really know how she did it, but Sandra somehow managed to say hello to and thank absolutely everybody at the party for coming. And I really don't understand how, because when there's so many people in the room, like there must have been at least 100 people, how do you manage to say hello to everybody? How did she manage to do that and also somehow take part in every single Kaylee dance? It just didn't make any sense to me. Like, that woman is a superwoman. But she kind of went around the room, said thank you to everybody. Sometimes she was even going around and pairing people off and saying, oh, you can take part in this next dance. This is so-and-so. So at one point she actually made me join in with one of the Kaylee dances, which was a little awkward, but ultimately I didn't mind. It was nice to kind of get up and moving and things like that. And I just basically had a great time. It was like being at a wedding, but nobody got married. Like, it just had that same kind of atmosphere where there were people of all ages there, and there was tables, there was chairs, everyone was speaking to everyone, and there was lots of Kaylee dancing going on. What else do you need? The most interesting conversation I had during the night was probably with Susanna. Now, if you've watched my video where I talked about various teachers that I've had, you'll maybe know that Susanna was my history teacher. And Susanna not only did amazing, engaging lessons in history, but she also got me involved in various things around the school, and she would pull me out of class at times when I was maybe bored and sulking and not doing so much and not getting as engaged in school as I maybe should have been. So she would get me involved in projects, and she would give me kind of a sense of purpose when I was feeling a little bored and things. So it was really cool for her to do that. I really appreciated that. So I spoke to Susanna at one point, and she didn't instantly recognize me, which is fine because she has like hundreds of students. She's taught hundreds of people, and I can't really expect her years and years later to be like, oh yes, you're this person, you did that, you did this. Because ultimately, I had about 30 teachers, and she easily had 300 people that she had to learn the names of and everything about. And I completely understand that she maybe didn't recognize me, but she did say when I talked, she knew who I was then because I have a distinctive accent. But anyways, like, I was speaking to Susanna, and she said at one point when I said when I was in school, she was like, oh, so you must have been one of my first pupils when I was newly graduated as a teacher. And I was like, wow, I would never have thought that, because I feel like at my school, there were teachers who knew exactly what they were doing. Like, they had it down, they were so confident, they knew exactly how to handle every situation. And then there were other teachers where it kind of felt like you knew they were new. They didn't really know how to deal with troublemakers so much. They weren't really as good as teaching. Thus, I never got that impression from Susanna. I honestly always felt like she knew what she was doing, and she was so confident. And now I'm just like, what was happening behind the scenes? Was she like finishing a lesson and then thinking, did I do that right? Should I have done this differently? Have I done the best job at teaching this? Because that never came across to me as a student. I always felt like she knew what she was doing. So it was really surprising to hear that she wasn't as experienced as I thought she was. And similarly, I think DJ and Sandra said similar things when I spoke to them last, that they weren't actually as experienced as teachers as I thought they were. Like, I honestly thought that they'd been doing it for years and years and years and knew exactly everything, like they knew the answers to everything, they knew exactly what to do. That's honestly like shook me a little. I was like, wow, you know, like people just don't always have it together. Like I know it's a cliche, but I never really thought of that before. Like she just seemed like a teacher who was owning it. I don't really know what sorry, I just kicked that camera there. But I don't really know what else to say. It was just a really good time. I hope that came across in the story. I hope you enjoyed hearing the story. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them down below. The only things I wouldn't really talk about is like personal information, because this is not only a story about me, but it's a story about various other people as well. I don't really want to share anything that they wouldn't be comfortable with sharing themselves, and I don't feel like I can speak for them in certain ways, so I don't really want to share where their workplace is. I don't want to share what their names are. I don't want to share what they're doing now and things like that. But other than that, if you have any stories you want to tell me about your teachers, if you have any stories, if this made you think of anything, then do let me know down below and I'd like to hear about it. And thank you so much for watching, everybody. Cheerio. Thanks again for watching, everybody. If you would like to know more about my teachers, check out this video over here, and YouTube have suggested a video you might enjoy over here. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with all my latest videos. Thanks again, everybody. Cheerio.